Good evening, Facebook family. My name is Chef Inderpal, if you guys don't know. Today we have a lot. Today we have a lot going on. Today, instead of doing any cooking, we're going to be doing a whole different aspect, and we're actually going to be doing baking and pastries. This is a field that requires a lot of patience, a lot of endurance, a lot of willpower. Baking and pastries is a field that's very difficult. People that are bakers or people that are confectionists, I have a lot of great respect for them. This is a field that's not the easiest field, and examples are basically is if you're baking a cake, if you're baking a souffle, whatever you're baking, if you don't add enough sugar, if you don't add enough ingredients to it, the time that you've invested into it, that basically has now gone away because your souffle didn't rise properly. Your cake was not enough sugar. There was not enough yeast in your bread. All these are factors in baking and pastries. It's totally different than cooking. Cooking is where you can add enough salt to your chicken marsala. Your salad dressing doesn't have enough vinegar. You can add more vinegar to it. You can always fix a mistake or an error in cooking. But in baking and pastries, it's totally opposite. It's not the same. I moved to Columbus in July of 2018. Quickly, when I moved into Columbus in July of 2018, I learned that the food in Columbus is very farm-driven. It's very it's very local. It's very fresh. A lot of farmers are into it. Everything is very seasonal. It's amazing to see that. The dessert part, totally exactly the same thing. I learned very fast that in Columbus, and not even just in Columbus, but Ohio itself, that the main staple dessert is something called a Buckeye candy. A Buckeye candy, this originated basically in 1960s to 1970s when homemakers were at the house and they saw a Buckeye tree, which is also the state tree for Ohio, was a Buckeye tree. They saw this tree and they saw a nut growing on the tree. The nut basically looks like a chocolate, basically looks like an acorn or a walnut, but it's basically a dark shell and it's got like a little like tan color on the top. So they saw this and they thought, why don't we make basically a candy out of this? So they basically took peanut butter and made a fudge out of it. Traditional recipe is peanut butter, a heavy basically creamy butter. You basically multiply them together, add confectionery sugar, and you basically have peanut butter fudge. They would take this fudge, make it into circles, dip it into basically chocolate, let it dry, and they basically had a Buckeye candy that looked just like the Buckeye nut that was growing on the tree. Caution though, the nut that grows on the tree, eating it raw is very poisonous. You have to be very skilled to cook a Buckeye nut and basically extract the poison out to eat it safely. So don't eat a Buckeye nut, not safe at all. But a Buckeye candy, totally the same thing. A Buckeye candy, the only problem is that if you ever had the Buckeye candy, it's fudge. What happens with fudge? You eat 1, 2, 3, you feel very full. You feel it's very sugary, it's very sweet. It's like, oh my God, I just ate so much. Do you know? Yeah, exactly, Chef John. Buckeye, Ohio State Buckeyes, exact same thing. Yes, sir. So what I realized is, just like I'm a chef, I'm a culinarian, the easiest thing to do with a Buckeye, what do we do as chefs? We basically invent, we rethink, we think of a process, we think of how to make things easier in the culinary industry. For a lot of people, that's what we think of. So quickly on the forefront, I basically thought of, why don't we just do a Buckeye mousse? Like, why don't we not make a peanut butter mousse, which is light, airy, full of flavor, and great. You can have multiple of these. You won't feel full. You'll feel great. A mousse, you can also control the sugar aspect of it, so it doesn't have to be too sweet, too dense, not too sweet. So quickly made a Buckeye mousse. When I first got my first job here in Columbus at the convention center, I introduced it on the menu. The first season, we sold 78,000 Buckeye mousses in the first season. 78,000. Second season, the same thing. Third season, the same thing. When I took over a Marriott hotel here in Columbus, Ohio, I introduced this on my menu. It's the only dessert that I've had to keep on my menu for 3 seasons long that I cannot make enough of, that I sell out every night for. So this dessert without further ado, let me introduce you guys on how to make this basically Buckeye Mousse, which you guys will love. So, as I said, this is going to be my little pot to start making the chocolate. We got spoons back here. These are all the mise en place that you're going to see. We're going to go through this step by step. This is the first part of basically the mousse, the second part of the mousse, and then the third part. This is my tool bin where all my tools are going to be in for today. So let's move this away, get this going. And the most important thing that we've been going through this challenge has been the COVID-19. You know, a lot of people are saying wash your hands, social distancing, don't touch your face, don't touch your nose. Let me teach you as a chef on how we basically, the proper technique of washing our hands and how we basically continue to wash our hands so you guys can understand why it's very important to wash your hands. You want the water to basically be at least 100 degrees to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, where it's nice and hot. Always get about 1 inch to 2 inches above your wrist. The most missed spots are your thumbs. Always try to get the thumbs the most. Once your hands are nice and lathered, get some soap in your hands, mix it around. Don't forget your wrist. Baking and pastries is also a field where you use your hands a lot. You don't use a lot of tools. That's why washing your hands and keeping your hands clean is a very important tool in baking and pastries. Always try to get between your fingers, wherever you got, crevices of your hands. So now we're going to start basically the Buckeye Mousse. Now we're going to get into the fun parts of everything. So right here you guys can see I have a food processor, which we're basically going to take all the ingredients in here. I have half a cup of dark chocolate, baking dark chocolate. I have a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. We're going to take the heavy cream and we're going to add it into the hot pot. And we're going to turn this on to a low simmer. While this gets hot, we're going to basically start blending the chocolate and to make the chocolate ganache. Take your chocolate, you're going to add it to the food processor. Gently, you want to pulse your chocolate in the food processor. 1, 2, 3. 1 pulse. 2 pulse. 3. About a good 6 or 7 pulses. And you're going to have basically chocolate in pieces. You're going to take your chocolate, add it to a bowl, Clean food comes out of a clean kitchen. Always clean as you go, folks. Always clean as you go. Next step, we're gonna take a piece of parchment paper. We're gonna take a magic marker. And we're gonna trace the bowl. Why are we tracing the bowl? I'll explain to you after we trace the bowl. You're gonna trace the bowl into a circle. Once you've gotten to going to because kind of a circle, you're gonna take a little bit of oil, put a little bit of oil on the bottom. Take this oil and you're gonna spread it around your cup. Once the oil has been spread, you're gonna take your parchment circle and you're gonna add it basically to the bottom to where it becomes non-stick. Let's check the cream and see how the cream is looking. Raise the temperature on the cream. Chef John, the percentage of the dark chocolate I have is 64% dark chocolate, 64%. Now the secret to my mousse is I take these cookies called Lotus cookies. They're made by a company called Biscoff. Yes, these are the airline cookies that you get on Delta Airlines, American Airlines, different airlines you get these cookies on. But this is the secret to my recipe. So I take these cookies and I mash them up. Once these cookies are nicely mashed, pour them into the chocolate. Same bag with a little bit of crumbs in it, no problem at all. We're gonna add the peanuts that were on the last step of the mise en place into the bag. And we're gonna set the bag aside now. Let's check this heavy cream, see how the temperature is. So now the cream is becoming hot. So as the cream gets hot, like I said, this was a half a cup of cream to a quarter cup of cream to half a cup of chocolate and 2 cookies. Cream is now hot enough. We're just gonna take the cream add it to the mix right here. While this is still hot, start mixing. You want to mix this till basically all your chocolate has been melted. It's a nice smooth consistency. Once everything has been melted and everything is basically great, once everything has been melted and it's in here, you're gonna now scoop 2 tablespoons in your mix. Now you have basically your chocolate that's going to set inside of here, and it looks just like this. From the bottom of the vessel, it looks just like this. So this now, we're now going to take this chocolate mix that we just made and we're going to put this in the freezer to get frozen. Now while that's in the freezer, we're going to start making the peanut butter mousse. For the peanut butter mousse, you're going to need a 1/4 cup of creamy peanut butter. Can you use crunchy peanut butter? You can, but it's a totally different texture. Preferred recipe is creamy peanut butter. So now in this bowl, we have added a 1/4 cup of creamy peanut butter. We're going to add a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. One ounce of room temperature cream cheese. 2 tablespoons of unsifted confectionery sugar. While everything is in the bowl, you're going to take an egg mixer, add your egg beaters to it. Now you're going to start basically making the mousse. You want to give it a good mix at a high speed for a good 45 seconds until you basically see that everything has basically been doubled in consistency and it's basically nice, light, and fluffy. Let's taste. That was just now heaven what I just tasted. My God. So this mousse, now this mousse is completed. You're going to take this mousse and you're going to add it to the frozen chocolate cup that we just made. You can see the chocolate that we have. It's nicely frozen. It's basically rock hard. It's perfect. So you're going to take your mousse now, and you want to basically add your mousse to your cup. As you add the mousse, it's fine if it doesn't become smooth and it become looking nice. Even if it's a little bumpy and has craters, it's not a problem at all. This will be covered again with chocolate. And the garnish will basically take care of how the ridges look and everything. Now this, you're going to put this back in the freezer, and you want the peanut butter basically to get frozen as well. Once the peanut butter is frozen, while the peanut butter is freezing, the extra peanut butter mousse, don't worry about it. This can be used to make anything from no-bake cheesecakes to peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Great on s'mores crackers. Overall, just a great snack. Just take a spoon and eat something with it. We're going to set this bowl aside. And next, we're going to basically heating up strawberry jam. So basically this was strawberry jam. I took a burr mixer or a hand blender, which this is in my hand, and I blended this already. Once this has been blended, you just want to basically bring this back to temperature. While this is being brought back to temperature, the chocolate that we made earlier, you want them basically to be on a very low heat, extremely low heat, where you're not basically burning the chocolate, but it's still basically keeping it nice and basically liquid, solidified. So how the chocolate is basically still solidified, we're going to basically take our frozen peanut butter and we're going to basically add the chocolate mousse onto this now. So now you can see the peanut butter is rock hard. It's solid. Chocolate's on the bottom, peanut butter is here. We're going to take our basically chocolate and we're going to pour some more on top of this. About 2 tablespoons is going to go on top. Again, with leftover chocolate, especially being like this, which is milk chocolate, you can use this almost for anything. Chocolate covered strawberries, if you want to dip a banana into it, any type of fruit, you feel like dipping breads, you make French toast, you want to add this to your French toast, no problem at all. Leftover melted chocolate is a great addition to anything. Once you have covered this with chocolate, you want to tap it out 3 times. 1, 2, 3. The reason you tap it out is you basically want to remove all the oxygen and air bubbles that are inside of your dish. Good question, Chef John. The chocolate originally has to go in the freezer for 1 hour, and the peanut butter has to go in the freezer as well for 1 hour. This right here will go into the freezer as well for 1 hour. While all this is being frozen and taken care of, we're gonna check our strawberry sauce and see how this is. So as this is heating up, it's becoming looser. The sugar is loosening up, the pectin is moving around. It's exactly how we want this to be. Lower the heat onto this. Move this around. There you go. Turn the heat off. Once the sauce has been made, we're gonna basically pull out our dish. We're gonna take the dish, lightly pick it up. You want to flip it upside down to remove the parchment paper. The peanuts came. Take the peanuts and you crush them. Before you put them in the freezer, you put the peanuts on it, so when it freezes, the peanuts are basically on top of the dish as well. Along with the cookie crumbs. Now to plate this dish, take our strawberry sauce. Gonna take a paintbrush, get it all in the sauce, onto your plate. Take your Buckeye Mousse, want to cut it in half. And there you go, folks. You have a Buckeye Mousse made just like that with some strawberry sauce onto it. Thank you, folks. Like I said, my name was Chef Inderpal. If you get any questions, concerns about this recipe, you see a recipe that you're intrigued in knowing how to make it, anything, just shoot me a message, shoot me a contact. We'll go from there. Other than that, you guys have a great night. Stay quarantined. Be safe. Wash your hands. You saw how I washed my hands in the very beginning. Follow those simple rules. Thank you. Yes, Chef John, you're right. Forgot the powdered sugar. And we got some powdered sugar. There you go, Chef. Thank you for the reminder, Chef. And ladies and gentlemen, you have a great evening. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.